Shalom. First and foremost, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai. Call lawyer Wakabat, La Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Rachakwadash. Double unto the elder apostles of the great millstone who rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the whole for the tabernacle of David. I just want to do a quick response lesson to Elder Apostle Rakah and also Elder Bishop Manathazak and what they were going into. Are you going to have men, who seem to be, cool, very likable personalities, but they tend to not be profitable or useful for the ministry. And you got men that'll come around and, they seem to be cool, they're around and, you might, like the brother, but he's not really on fire for this thing. He does the bare minimal. He's not responsible. And guys like that, they're really just playing it safe, hoping that brothers just like them and like them enough to where they don't have to get into the trenches, get all the way in, and get their hands dirty. When it comes to this ministry and going the extra mile, putting in the labor, you know, but being likable is not gonna suffice it. It's not gonna excuse you in the grand scheme of things, because the Lord, He's gonna reward us according to our works. And just because brothers like you and think that you're cool, that don't mean that the Heavenly Father is gonna give you a pass. All right, He's not gonna excuse you. All right, we all gonna receive the same penny, and that's why we got to be diligent. He's not looking for any lukewarm individuals, despite how likable you might be. That's an individual that's just playing it safe. All right. So let me real quick, let me get a couple precepts, because being liked amongst the brothers, that's cool, but that's dealing with men pleasing. Let's go to Colossians 3 and verse 23, because you got to be very sincere, man. You can't be half-hearted in this thing. All right, we got to be fully committed. Your faith got to be hot enough to be, fully committed into this thing. When you're giving it just, 50%, the Lord can use you. That's not enough. It's 100 or nothing. All right, so this is Colossians 3, and a matter of fact, I'll start up. Colossians 3 and 22, it says, servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service. And you have, in this truth, you have masters, you have, brothers that are over you that have the rule, whether they be, the bishops, or heads of camps. And then, of course, it's because it's a ranking order. You got the elder apostles, you have the bishops, the officers, so on and so forth. And a standard is set, within the body, and you have a body of men, all right, overseers and different brothers of position to make sure that that standard is enforced. And one of those standards is being on fire, being diligent. Make sure you're doing your lessons. Make sure you putting your studies in. Making sure that brothers bond together, get together with one another. Make sure the fellowship is going good. Making sure everything is tight, decently, and in order. And whatever position that you were given or whatever office was given to you, hey, you got to give it your all, man. All right. It says, servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service. Just doing what's necessary, just because men, happen to be around. You seem to be doing what you do, but you only do it when brothers are around or brothers are checking up on you. Now do this knowing that the Heavenly Father's eyes is 10,000 times brighter than his sun. You want to be very sincere, man. Everything is to be done out of a pure heart. All right. Unfeigned. Not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing the Most High. All right. Because you fear the Lord. You're not doing this unto men because you can fool men, but you can't fool the Most High. It says, and whatsoever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men. Because if you're trying to do it unto men, and you're just trying to, you're trying to play it safe. That the Lord sees everything. So if you just slacking, on your lessons and you barely coming to camp, I'm pretty sure eventually the spirit's gonna find you out. And then eventually the spirit is gonna show that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Because then the spirit is gonna start to get withdrawn from you. And that's one of the scariest things that can happen to you. The Lord take the spirit from you. And we've seen that happen to men who were, especially in my camp. I can speak, from experience, just speaking on my camp alone, years ago. And you had a dude that was in the camp. He was an Ephraimite, and he was he was a very cool dude. I was actually a roommate with him. He was real cool, man. But I started to notice how, the spirit that was upon him was beginning to dwindle. And I had to, check him at times and, light a fire under him and encourage him. But at some point, when you got to keep doing that, something's definitely up. And before you know it, dude fizzled out. He was, had little excuses, why he couldn't be around much. He was out there in that life. He was living a double life. We're trying to keep it hidden, but I saw what was going on. And then eventually, he was out of there, man. And he went right back into the world because the Lord ended up spewing him out of his mouth. So, you know, when I was staying with him, that's when all right, I'll do a lesson or, you know, I'll come to camp because that I would get on him if he didn't come to camp. But once we, went our ways, that's when he stopped doing the work. So you was doing this thing unto men and not heartily to the Lord. And the Lord ended up just, spitting them out, man. So we can't be like that. Even if, brothers, like you have a likable personality, brothers, drink some beers with you from here and there, eat, maybe go out a few times. But it's beyond that because really this is a body and we're part of a business. Now you got to keep the business active by working. So let me read this in the NLT translation, and it says, "Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people." All right. Remember, like the Apostle Tahar said months ago, you're working for the King of the universe. So if he got you on the clock, man, because we know when you on your regular job, you working for Esau, you gonna do your darnest. You gonna put in your work. You know you're gonna make sure you're doing it right. You're gonna make sure you're on time. Well, why not do that for Yahweh? Why Yahushai? And I would be much more nervous, you know, serving him. And it tells you that in Philippians, seek out um seek out his salvation with fear and with trembling, man. You don't want to get spewed out, man, because that means he's taking the spirit from you. All right. It says, knowing that the Lord, knowing that of the Lord you shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the Lord Hamashiach. And that's who you're serving. You're not really serving men, you're serving the Lord. You just have men that's, you know, helping to guide you to serve him. So you don't want to be the dude who's just, you want to be liked and you cool, but you're cool just to play it safe. Because the Lord will look into you, man. So let's go from there. Let's get Ephesians 6 and verse 5, because it says the same thing. The Apostle Paul told both churches this. The church of Ephesus, Ephesians 6 verse 5, it says, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of your heart as unto a Mashiach, not with eye service as men pleasers, but as the servants of Hamashiach, doing the will of the Most High from the heart, with good will, doing service as to the Lord and not to men. All right. And this is a service. We're worshiping the Most High through this service. And the Lord said, if you love me, feed my sheep. So we know when it comes to the love, we're supposed to, according to the commandment, love him with all thy might, with all thy soul. Let's look up men pleasers. And the word is
Strong's G 441. Anthropodiscos. Anthropodiscos.
anthropodiscos, and it says, studying to please men, courting the favor of men. Yo, that's a cool brother right there, man. You know, brother's funny. Brother's funny as hell. Yeah, that's cool, you know. But where are you at in the spirit? And what is your use for the ministry? Because we're supposed to be productive, active, participating. And you're supposed to be willingly, all right? Not a brother that's just, dragging his feet, you just around and, is burdensome. The Lord will see right through that, man. So, getting into the actual scripture, let's go to Revelation 3. I think it starts around 13, 12, 13. In Revelation 3, verse 13, it says, he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Yahushua was speaking through Apostle John, or John the Revelator, and he had, different messages for the different seven churches. And he had some good things to say to some of the churches, and he had some alt with some of the churches. All right, because who he loves, he rebukes and chastens. And towards this particular church, the church of Laodicea, this was a wealthy church, because that town, they were known for their wealth and self-reliance. That particular town suffered a mighty earthquake that left everything in ruin. And instead of getting aid from surrounding cities and countries, they had enough wealth to actually rebuild it on their own. So they had that attitude as if us living that way and having these having our own resources and our own wealth and being self-reliant, they had that carefree attitude, and their mind wasn't really set and focused on the ministry. Their faith became very lukewarm, and the Lord took notice of that, so he gave them that warning. So this is Revelation 3 verse 14. It says, "And unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans write, these things saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, and beginning of the creation of the Most High. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou wert cold or hot." All right, meaning you can't play the fence. Either gonna be all the way in, or you just gonna be all the way out. All right, you don't want to, be caught in the crossfire, so to speak. 1 foot in the world and 1 foot in the ministry. Spirit will find you out. It says, "So then, because thou art lukewarm, neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth." All right. And you know, when the Lord spoke certain things, he would use, metaphors to convey, certain messages. And the fact that he used the cold versus the hot and leading to lukewarmness, if you actually study the history on it, that particular city, they had a lukewarm water supply where they had a hot springs that came down from um, a particular city. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna bring this out. This is from the Bible Gateway, and it's actually going into the basically breaking it down. All right, and it's pretty good information on it. All right, because it gives you the historical context and why the Lord used it as a metaphor for that church's lukewarmness. All right, so I'll just read through it, and then Lord willing, just be edifying. So it says, like many things that become Christian cliches, the metaphor of lukewarmness is usually taken out of context. It becomes a general warning against not having a hot enough faith, a committed enough walk with the Lord, a holy enough lifestyle, and instead being only half-hearted devoted. It's like you're half-heartedly devoted. All right, and that's real quick. Let's go to Romans 12, because ferventness or being on fire is associated with being diligent, and we gonna see that in this in these precepts. This is Romans chapter 12 verse 9. It says, "Let love be without dissimulation," or meaning without hypocrisy. Or let love not be fake. Basically, abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love. Not on condition. All right. No, be a brother at all times, man. You got certain dudes who they'll be brotherly. They'll be brotherly with you when everything is all good and you eating chicken and drinking beer. But as soon as you have a disagreement or you feel offended at something, now all of a sudden the agape is lost. Well, if it's that easy for you to lose love for a brother when it could be just a genuine misunderstanding, then you're really lukewarm because you're not living the principles of Yahushai. All right. If these principles can easily go out of the window with you, then that means that you're really not on fire. It says, in honor, preferring one another, not slothful in business. And what's the opposite of slothfulness? Diligence. So we can't be slothful, man. This is a business. The Lord said, "Occupy till I come." All right. It says, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. And we know fervent means to burn with zeal, to be basically on fire. Like when Jeremiah, he said that, there was a time where he couldn't speak, but then the word was in his mouth like fire. So we got to be the same way when it comes to this truth, man. Whether it's defending the gospel, whether it's helping brothers, being charitable towards brothers, or whatever your office may be, whether it's in prophecy, we got to be fervent, man. All right. So let's go back and read some more. It says, yeah, I'm gonna say his name. Yahushai hates this half-heartedness. Preachers say so. You should rededicate your life to him, or come to the front of the church and get delivered from whatever sin or spiritual laziness afflicts you. Yahushua would rather you be cold or hot, either a licentious heathen or a totally not slacker or a totally on fire follower. No more messing around in the middle. Exactly. I sometimes wonder how many sincere but struggling Christians actually have chosen the cold option as a result of this browbeating. But the context, see, like you had a Demas, who was he was a contemporary of Apostle Paul in the ministry, but you can tell that his faith, start to get weak, and it start to the cares of that life start to overtake, his mind, and he started to basically lose the thrill for the ministry, for the teaching. So he basically went back into the world because the world was basically calling him, the pleasures of the world. All right. So he was no longer conducive or useful to the ministry, he became unfruitful. So he went from at some point being on fire when he was with Apostle Paul, and he was probably, towards the end of his course, he was probably man pleasing, just to play it safe, but inwardly, that world was calling to him. And then eventually the Apostle Paul saw that, and dude ended up basically going back into the world. So he went from being on fire at some point to being lukewarm, and then eventually when he went back into the world, he became cold. And we don't know if it was related to business, or he had a stake in his particular hometown. So, and that happens to dudes. I got to go back in the world. I got to find myself, or I got certain opportunities waiting for me, that if I continue to do this thing, then this is going to be in the way. So maybe I can go leave and set myself up, and then when I'm ready and I got everything situated, then I can come back and dust off my garment and my Bible, and come back out, especially when I start to see the prophecies coming to pass. No, you can't do that, because the Lord said, he that putteth his hand to the plow and looketh back is not fit for the kingdom. So the moment you look back and you leave, that's it. There's no coming back from that. So you might as well just be cold from there on out. It says, but the context of this warning to the church in Laodicea leads to a much different emphasis than individual commitment and spiritual holiness. Our first clue comes in the fact that the message is addressed to a church, a body of Christians. Something was wrong collectively. Our second clue is that Yahushua quotes this group as saying, You say, I am rich, I have required wealth, and do not need a thing. There's something wrong in this church was wrapped up in his economic status. It was wealthy and self-reliant. All right, so I mean, he has a point with that, but at the same time, because he says that the warning is much different than the commitment and spiritual holiness, but that's not entirely true because their status had everything to do with their slowing down in their commitment. All right, they were actually slowing down in their commitment and in their steadfastness because they were so hard bent on the riches and the wealth that they had. Go, all you got to do is just read the parable of those who fell upon not stony ground, but upon let me go to it. Matthew 13. Yeah, Matthew 13, verse 22, it says, He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word and become unfruitful, meaning unproductive. You're not producing. All right, you're not increasing. So their status is what basically stunted their growth, where they couldn't max out, they couldn't become more active and diligent. Now you had the church of Laodicea, the church of Smyrna. Yeah, economically they was nowhere near the church of Laodicea. They were impoverished, but they were more devoted to Yahweh Shai and their works than this church. All right, that's why the Lord told them, even though I see your poverty, your tribulation, but you're rich. All right, so here's the historical context of it. A lot of brothers, I'm pretty sure, and know knows this, but if some of you that might not know it, it was just good information just to know, to understand why the Lord actually used this, as a reference point or as an analogy. It says, and our third clue has to do with the metaphor itself. Why was Yahweh Shai through John using the metaphor of lukewarmness in the first place? As with most things in Scripture, we have to look at the historical context, the geography and background to the city. To the north of Laodicea, Hierapolis had a healthy hot springs, and to the south, Colossae had cold springs that were clean and refreshing to drink from. But Laodicea had perpetual problems with its water supply, which was brought by aqueduct 6 miles from the south. By the time the water reached Laodicea, it had become lukewarm. It was tepid, unclean, and undrinkable. The kind of water that makes you sick, that you might spit or vomit out of your mouth, as Yahushua said to do, metaphorically speaking, with the entire Laodicean church. And when anything lukewarm, especially if it's liquid, you you really don't like that taste. You know, you're not gonna eat no lukewarm cereal, some soggy ass cereal, and some lukewarm milk. When you drink beer, for those of you that like beer, you only like it cold. You ain't gonna drink no lukewarm beer. It's gonna taste pissy. Well, the Lord likens a person who's not on fire for this, and you just around. You're basically lukewarm. It's an unpleasant taste, and the Lord's gonna just spit you out. All right. So that's pretty much the historical context of it, and now you see why he actually uses that in reference to their lukewarmness in that church because their mind was on their status and their wealth, and not on actually being devoted to Yahushua in the ministry. All right. So even though they didn't think that they was lacking, spiritually they were lacking. They were spiritually sick. They were lukewarm, and they was using their status and wealth to cover up for that lack. Like certain dudes in Israel, they have that sophisticated image. Everything looks extravagant and luxurious, clean and crisp. They got the gimmicks. They got they do all that, but it's really the cover up for the lack of the understanding in the spirit. You got all that going on, but you going off on the MOTB. You going off on the new moon. You know, you going off on the image of the beast. So we got to definitely be on fire for this, man. You got to be useful, and that's what he wants. But he can't use you if you just half-hearted, man. You just 50%. We got to go all the way with it. Let's get Ecclesiastes. And I believe it's is it 4? I think it's Ecclesiastes 9. Yeah, Ecclesiastes 9 verse 10, it says, "Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest." All right. And whatever it is that the Lord called you to do, if you will help, go all the way with it, helping the ministry. All right. If you a sister and you have a husband and he's an active member and he serves the Lord, well, you got to go all out in servicing him to help him service the Lord. And guess what? Once it all pays off, the Lord's going to give you a reward. All right. You be a cheerful giver, towards the body, and whatever it is that you do, the Lord's going to be cheerful to give you his kingdom. Imagine, you going all out in sincerity for the Lord, and the Lord be like, I guess I'll give it to you. Nah, man. It's the Lord's pleasure to give you his kingdom. But we got to work for it. It got to be earned. So, this lesson sparked me, to do a land back lesson, and Lord willing, it was edifying. So yeah, I hate how this be acting. Yeah, pause it. But anyway, I'm gonna end off right there, and Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm gonna give all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai to the next lesson. Shalom.